What is up, y'all? A year later, I am now doing my updated face routine. I did do my eyeshadow and lips and everything in this video, so you actually see my entire look. This is my everyday go-to look. After watching last year's video, I realized a lot of things have changed, so I thought I would kind of mix it up, put another video back out there, and just kind of explain what I'm up to now. So if you would like to see how to get this look, then just keep on watching. So obviously things have changed. The biggest things that have changed is definitely my use of primers. I always get smile lines right around here, so my foundation just like rubs off, and I'm always missing like a ring of foundation right here. And then I'll always just get like the forehead lines as well. So to combat that, I put a little bit of the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer there, just because it's a pretty heavy duty eyeshadow primer, and eyeshadow primers are formulated to prevent creasing, so I'm going to put that on my problem areas. So I don't put a lot, but really just where I know it's going to crease anyway. And I'll always just put it at the tip of my nose, because why not? Let's just prime our eyes. And I just use my finger to blend it out, so it's nothing fancy. But I want to make sure to not allow it to crease while it's drying, and then I'm going to powder it. I'm not going to powder my eyelids, just because eyeshadow is going on there anyway, and I want it to remain kind of tacky. And then I'm just going to go in with a cheapy powder. I'm sure everybody has it. It's the Coty Airspun. It's a pretty good powder. So I'm just taking the smallest amount and just setting wherever I put that primer. So, just to be a little extra, I normally don't do this, but I will go in with the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer. Again, very popular primer. This is more of a silicone dimethicone based primer. It's more for texture and just kind of giving you the airbrushed finish. So I will just take the smallest amount, not even a pea size, and I will just put it in my problem areas as far as pores go. I don't want it to be too far into my nose where I get oily, just because it's not going to help anything. Sometimes a little in between my eyebrows and a little on my chin. Just wherever you have the issues of pores. And I like to press this primer in. You just want to fill your pores, so that way you're not rubbing it all over. It could ball up if you're using the wrong kind of silicone. So you just kind of want to press in, and then you get the best results. But then I'm going to go in with the Urban Decay Quick Fix Spray. It smells so good. Latest obsession, Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation. It's a super full coverage, super matte foundation. Every time I wear it, I get a ton of compliments. It just looks very soft and airbrushed. Doesn't look super matte to the point that you look flaky and dry and dull, but it does control my oils. I've worn it for hours on end with only setting with powder where I put my concealer, and it still remains really matte. So this is like my long-lasting foundation. But I just use still my Real Techniques beauty sponge, and I take just a small amount like that for now. And I start on my cheeks just because I want the cheek area to have the most coverage. So just dotting a little bit there just to get rid of some of the product. And I'm not going to go too close into my under eyes just because that's where I'm going to put concealer anyway. Making sure I get my nose, all the lines, and then again blending down the neck. And just get a little more product for the forehead. I have some leftovers, so I'll put it on my cheeks again. Temples, bring that down. And I go in with my Tarte Shape Tape. I use the shade Medium. So with a giant applicator, I just dot that much for my under eyes and a little under my chin. Same sponge, no product added, still wet. Don't need a ton of concealer just because I'm not trying to conceal anything. I like the color of my foundation, so I'm not trying to manipulate it as I was in the last time, or in the last video. So, just adds a little dimension to the face. I am super into cream contouring lately. Cream contour underneath all your powders just actually looks like your skin. And I've just been using a concealer. This is a Fiona Styles concealer, but I just got it because it was on clearance. But it is a very warm shade, and I grabbed the smallest amount, and I'm going to put it wherever I would normally contour. So starting up at the sideburn area and just bringing it down slowly. You can tell it's not very pigmented, but it adds, again, dimension without compromising some of your warmth and without looking very overboard. And I don't put as much onto the forehead because it is a very warm shade, so I don't want it to be super obvious. And then whatever I have left over on my brush, I just kind of stamp it on my nose. I don't contour my nose. I don't find it necessary. A little under my chin, or under my lip, and a little under the jawline. And I don't leave it like that. I do go back in with my sponge and just blend it out slightly, just to get rid of any harsh lines. But I'm not trying to, I still want to keep it precise. So I'm just kind of blending out the top, not really touching the bottom. And under the forehead right here, and a little on the nose. And under the jawline, just a little. To set everything in place, I'll go back into that Coty Airspun powder. And I just need very little. And I'm just going to really set, just because it is a super matte foundation already, I don't want to go too overboard and look very dry. So I'm just going to set where I put the concealer to begin with. So just right under here. If you get a little sloppy with your cream contour and you think you brought it down too far, you can clean it up with powder, or you can go back in with your concealer and actually clean it up. Like use your concealer as like an eraser, which is the biggest tip I could give anyone, really. And then I'm just bringing it up to where I put that eyeshadow primer to prevent these smile lines around the sides of my nostrils, just because I get very oily there. And then again, just on the forehead. And then just for fun, I'll clean up the contour just a little. So after that, I always go in with eyebrows. I've been using the Dip Brow Pomade from Anastasia. It's the typical one that you constantly see on Instagram, on videos. I just found that it is very quick. It gives me a bold brow, and it looks a lot cleaner and sharper. So I just go in. So what I like to do, because pomades can be very, very intimidating because they can get out of hand very quickly, I just kind of dip it in very, very lightly, almost picking up no product. And then I take it on the cap and I clean up the sides. So that's also going to remove any chunks of pomade along with half the product, so you go in a lot softer. So I like to go in right underneath my arch, create the tail, and just kind of create that shape. And then I just bring it forward. I don't bring it all the way to the front of the brow yet, just because I have a little too much product than I would like to on my brush. And then I'm just going to round out that arch. And finish up the top. I used to go for a very arched brow, but lately I've just been kind of rounding this part out. And then I go in with a little more product just to fill in those lines. And then as soon as I have like little to no product on the brush, I will just slowly bring it forward. I don't go for the whole ombre brow. I just don't want a definitive block in the beginning of my brow. So that's basically it. That's all it takes. So another reason that I really like pomades is because you can skip the whole annoying step of having to clean up your eyebrows with concealer. For me, pomades give me the strong shape first time around. So I will, however, go in with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Clear Brow Gel and just set everything in place. Not too precise with it because it's clear, so it doesn't matter. This one, however, I need to kind of brush upwards because the way my brows is set up. I'm actually going to be showing eyeshadow in this video just because people don't believe me that I only use like 2 to 3 eyeshadows in a look. Whenever you see a giant palette like this, you don't have to use every single color, girl, believe it or not. So I'm actually only going with 2, maybe 3 colors. So I always start off with this bright orange, just because I like that as a transition crease in my eye for my skin tone. Then I like to go in this darker, kind of burnt yellow mustardy color, just to kind of darken it up a little bit. And then I usually pick between these 2 shimmery shades. I think I'm going to go with this one just because it's a little bit brighter. I'm only going to use one brush too. So this one was just from the Anastasia Beverly Hills Makeup by Mario palette. So it has a fluffy side on one end and then a more flat defined brush on the other side. So in the same order that I just showed it, I'm going to go in with that bright orange. And I'm not going to be precise with it whatsoever. I'm just going to keep it above the crease, but bring it all the way in. I do have hooded eyes, so I like to keep things above that natural crease. Because if I put it too tightly in there, it's not going to go noticed. And again, I'm not being precise. So once I have that on, then I will go in with the little more flat defined brush and go in with that darker burnt color. And just keep it tightly in the crease. Again, not being too precise, because I'm going to go in and blend it out with the fluffy side anyway. So I'm just kind of placing it there, just again, to add a little bit more dimension. And then just going to run it back and forth. So honestly, truly, this step is totally not necessary. You can totally just stick with that one crease color and call it a day. This is just going to add the slightest amount of dimension. Same side, not going to do anything with it. Not even going to clean it. I don't really care. I'm going to go in with the shimmery shade and place it on my lid. I'm putting the most amount of product closest to my lash line, just because you don't want to start off too high because then you can't blend it down. And then I'll bring it forward. This is preference. Because I have hooded eyes, I like to go just a little above my lid. And then pat it out. And then I'll go back in, blend out that side. That's all I do. Closest to the lash line. Come in inner corner, create a rounded shape. Take it a little above. So that's all I do. And it's super interchangeable. If you want to get fancy with it and kind of make it a little bit more deep, you can take something like this dark chocolate shadow and take it on your fluffy side. Biggest tip that I have for smoky eyes is stamping in the outer corner. Rather than going in and trying to buff it out, stamp it. It takes half of the work out for you. Half of the blending work is gone. See, just adds a little dimension, and it adds a little bit of a better transition. You could go in with a black or a super, super, super dark brown, or even go in with a little bit more product. but I like to start out soft and then build upwards because, again, it's a lot easier to build up than it is to blend out. And with the darker shade, I really don't bring that one above my crease, like, at all. Now if you feel like right here there's not a smooth transition, just go back into that bright yellow orange. So finishing off the eyeshadow, I love a smoky lash line, so I'm going to go in with the flat brush. I'm just going to wipe it off just a little, just so the shimmery shade isn't on there as much. Then I'm going to go back in with that bright yellow shade and blow out the bottom. So, looks kind of crazy, but this is up to you if you want to put the shimmery shade underneath. I'm just going to actually go in with that kind of darker burnt color that I went in tighter with the crease. And I'm just going to keep this one a little bit closer to the lower lashes. Going back to the face, I'm just going to go in with any bronzer, and I don't do this always. Lately, I've been just over blush. For the fall, I promise you I'm like gonna wear zero blush. So I've just been going with any old bronzer. This is a Dermablend powder, but it was discontinued, so it doesn't matter. But I did put some bronzer on very lightly just because I don't want to overload my face with bronzer. But I just put it where I put that cream contour, so it kind of set it just a little bit. For the purpose of this video, I am going to go in with blush. Normally I don't use a ton of blush, but I'm actually going to go in with that same Prosecco blush color that I used in the last video by Becca Cosmetics. So going in with a very fluffy angled brush, just taking a little bit of it. It is a very bronzy neutral blush, but it does add a little bit of color to the face. So just bringing that in that upwards motion. Putting blush in that upwards motion is going to give you more of that snatched, risen face rather than rosy cheeks just in the front, because that can actually give you the perception of more round cheeks. Okay, so if you want to keep this look a little bit lighter, I like going in with more of a bronzy or gold eyeliner, just because it's not going to create as much darkness and it's not going to be as dark as the eyeshadow that you're putting on. So, me, again, I like to be a little more dramatic, so I am going to go in with a black. I'm just using an old Tarte mascara, or a Tarte eyeliner. And I like to put it inside my waterline, just because I have very round eyes and I like to kind of create more of that sultry almond shape. So along with lining my bottom lash line, I will also tightline, which I'm sorry this isn't the prettiest thing to see. This is going to help a lot whenever you're putting false lashes on, whenever you curl your lashes. It's just going to prevent any skin from showing through. So same deal on the other side. And I do have very watery eyes, so all eyeliners will really run on me. So with the same eyeshadow brush that I was using, I'm going to use that bottom part, the tighter one, and just actually beat my eyeliner to the punch as far as smudging. So that way it looks purposeful and not on accident. I will curl my lashes a little bit. And I have really been into eyelash primers. So I'm using the Subversion from Urban Decay, but I really like the Lancome Sills Booster as well. But I'm just using the Urban Decay one, and I'm just going to coat my lashes. So I'm going to go in with my favorite mascara of all time, is the Lancome Monsieur Big, the Mr. Big. So I love this mascara because it does not flake on me whatsoever. Which is very hard to find because I am a blinker. So it does not flake, but it also does not run. It holds a ton of volume and a ton of length. It holds a curl all day, and it's flexible, so you're not having like pokey, spiny lashes that hurt to move all day. So I absolutely love this mascara. It is my go-to. But see, I'm only going in with one coat on each side because I put that lash primer on. And then I'll run it on my bottom lashes. Then I'm just going to go in with any old setting spray. A lot of people really like the Urban Decay one, but personally I like the Derma Blend setting powder or setting spray, just because I think it works really well. It helps with the longevity of my makeup. It also doesn't have any or very little alcohol content, which is what I really like about it. So I'll just spray on and let that dry for a second. As it's drying, I will grab my Smashbox Highlighting Trio Spotlight Palette in Gold. This was in collaboration with Casey Holmes also. And I like to grab the lightest shade and the middle shade and just mix them together and hit my face with it. I am very into gold subtle highlights. And this is the perfect medium. And because my face is a little wet from that setting spray, it's going to look a lot more like skin rather than just gold dust all over. I'll take it down the bridge of my nose, hit my Cupid's bow, and I also like to go just a little above the eyebrows, just very, very lightly. And then while that is sitting there, I'll grab the darkest shade, or like the most glittery shade, and just hit the tops of my cheekbones one more time. Now to finish off with lips, I'm just going to go in with a Palladio lip liner. It's not the best lip liner, I just got it on clearance again. I do like the color a lot, so I'm just going to line and then I'm going to go in with my favorite nude of all time. It's a traditional lipstick, so it's really nice. It is by Maybelline. So if you're my complexion and you like a little bit more of a warm brown tone nude, this is Raw Chocolate from Maybelline. It is from the Intimate Nude Matte collection, something like that. Raw Chocolate. So, easily my number one, my go-to, what I wear basically all the time. If you see me on the streets, I look like this. So, again, very simple, very bronzy, very gold look. But yeah, that is it, really. Makeup doesn't have to be intimidating. It can be a lot of fun, but it doesn't have to be intimidating or scary whatsoever. So, if you guys ever have any questions, you can always let me know. I've had a couple people ask me for questions and advice, and I love it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.